Welcome to John's Top 5 Tips on Investment. Today I have with me Michael and Becky Kramrs, and they are local investors here in the Bryan-College Station area for student housing, and we really appreciate not only their expertise, but also their advice. Thank you both for joining me. So just kind of give us a little bit of information on why you decided to buy a house for a student.
Sure. Well, we live here locally, so it was kind of a no-brainer that we might look locally. Both of our kids decided to go to college here, and the second one is where we had the opportunity to look for an investment.
Okay. So you didn't do it with the first one?
No.
Right. Now, is there a reason why you didn't go with the first kid?
Yeah, so with the first child, we had another property in a different town. We had a guest house. And so for us, we just weren't able to do both at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it was just timing for that.
Timing.
Okay.
Exactly.
It wasn't a matter that that student wanted to stay in the dorm or anything like that. Did your students choose or think about staying in the dorms?
Our son stayed in the dorm his first year.
Yes.
And then he moved into the townhome that we have.
Okay.
Our daughter, she actually stayed in a dorm in San Antonio.
Okay.
Her first year, then she came back to Bryan-College Station.
Okay.
To go to A&M, and she stayed in an apartment after that.
She didn't want the dorm life again.
Correct.
Was there something about dorm life that they just really didn't like?
I think it was not being able to choose roommates at will all the time.
Okay.
Some of that was left to chance, and so being able to have the ability to pick and choose who you lived with was pretty important. Sometimes you can do that with some dorms.
It just depends, doesn't it?
But a lot of it is left to chance. And
Sure.
so when you have the ability to live with someone that you know, that's really appealing.
That is the
and
preference.
so when you have the ability to own something and then be able to choose, who that is
Right.
that's going to be living in the extra spaces that are available, that's really key. Especially if one of those people that's living there is your own child.
Now, as you decided the investment was a good route, what options did you consider? Did you consider single-family condos? You had mentioned you bought the townhouse. Were there other considerations? And then specifically, why did you settle in on a townhouse?
Okay. Yeah, so we considered, when we were looking for the current property that we own, we really had narrowed it down to either a condo or a townhome. With our experience with the single-family home that we were using as a guest house, that has its own challenges, and we wanted to take away some of those challenges as far as some of the maintenance issues, yard upkeep. We didn't want to have to either do that ourselves or farm that out to someone else to have to do.
Sure.
Because that starts digging into your investment.
Sure.
And so we thought it'd be better for us to have something that was closer to campus if possible, and then also something that was a little bit less maintenance.
Between condo and townhome, was there really any difference as far as that goes?
We looked at both initially and had to learn the difference between the two.
Yes.
Yeah, which you were influential in helping us learn the difference between those. We own a townhome.
Right.
What we ended up buying, each community that you look at when you're choosing to where to invest, I guess, or where to purchase, is going to have different amenities. Different homeowners associations, those exist everywhere.
They sure do, don't they?
They do. And probably, a good rule of thumb, I would say the more amenities, the higher the homeowners association fees are going to be.
Oftentimes.
So that's always something to consider. And then, the different maintenance things you have to deal with inside the unit or around the unit are going to change depending on whether it's a condo versus a townhome.
Right.
So that's just some things to consider.
I actually met, kind of by chance, just happened to sit in on our homeowners association annual meeting last week.
Did you? And how did that go?
It went really well. One thing that came up, which made sense, was in referring to the amenities that you have access to. They mentioned that insurance rates for condos, townhomes has gone through the roof.
It has, nationwide.
Yeah, and they said because of the way ours is set up and the amenities that are there, we don't have as many as some others.
Right.
And so that makes our homeowners association insurance not go up quite as much.
bad.
So that was a plus for us. We were thankful that for many reasons, but that being one of them.
Certainly.
That those rates aren't going up quite at the same clip as others.
You aren't kidding. Insurance and taxes,
Right.
boy, they go up every year.
Yes.
But a lot has happened to
Yes.
cause the rates to go up.
Absolutely.
What have been some of the negatives?
I would say probably initially, I think with any unit that you look in purchasing, age is always going to be a factor.
Certainly.
So some of the, hard equipment that you have there, whether it's
Yeah.
HVAC or, the appliances that come with it may be an issue to be concerned with, That's been one of the things that we had to deal with over the past couple of years.
Really?
Just maybe some, maintenance issues regarding the age of those appliances or equipment.
What other negatives would you think of with regard to the investment in this property?
Okay. So one other negative, and we experienced it, was you never know what's happening in your unit next door.
Oh.
And so we had the unit next door had a water leak, and thankfully it didn't cause any damage for us, but it could have. Our renters noticed water coming out of the garage, and so they tried to trace it. They assumed it was on our side, and so we had them check a couple of places and said it's not here. And so it turns out it was the neighbor's plumbing that was leaking, and they weren't home, and so
Naturally.
so we were able to get it fixed, and thankfully we had no damage, but it easily could have caused some damage to our side, to our unit, and so
Okay.
negative. But with just like anything, whether it's your own home that you're living in, or if you're living in a townhome yourself, there's always going to be risk in ownership to your appliances, to your plumbing. It doesn't change.
That's the joys of home ownership.
Right. Just because you have an investment property,
Yeah.
there's still those
Yeah.
same things that have to be fixed on occasion.
Okay. That.
One of the if we can flip it, one of the plus sides to that is
Yes.
our own child is the one that still lives there.
Right.
And so for him, it's been a good thing to learn some of these things
Sure.
without the major risk to of financial risks on how to deal with some of these things before owning on his own. How to handle this, who to call, when there's air conditioner maintenance, what to do, changing filters, being mindful
Yes.
of different things. So that's kind of been a plus.
That's been a huge plus.
On-site minor maintenance type person.
As well as the preparation for living.
Right.
All right, we've covered most of the topics I wanted to get to, but as you look back on this investment, is there anything you would have done differently?
Go ahead.
We talked about this beforehand, and we really don't.
Okay.
We don't think we would do anything differently.
Okay.
With our history of having another property, we'd kind of already made that decision on what we didn't want, and so for us, it was almost a no-brainer as far as kind of what was our need. We needed a place for our student to stay, and we're blessed that we live here locally, and we've lived here for almost 27 years, and so we've seen the steady growth in the area, and we felt like that our investment was pretty safe as far as kind of our return on our investment in the future. And then we felt like that the area is growing fast enough that the values will increase, and so when it's time for us to sell, we feel like we'll do okay on it. We didn't think we would be in a situation where we'd be looking at a loss down the road. So
Did you have anything on that?
Well, I would. The only thing that I think I would consider with a property, and maybe after someone's student is completed school, maybe our own child would want to buy it for an investment, a personal investment. So we have options. And someone else considering that may also want to look at the different options that they have, continuing to rent. Some might be considering, since this is a college town, thinking about, game day housing.
Sure.
That's the short-term rental market. And we've been in that market in a different town that has that as their main source of income. And I would just caution someone who's looking at that to look into it in advance, because not every area allows that.
Right.
So, communities, neighborhoods, and apartment complexes or condo complexes have restrictions against that.
That's real good advice. If you weren't local, even if you are local, did you ever consider a property manager instead of doing it yourselves?
We did not. On our previous property that we had, we did, because we were absentee owners.
Yes.
With us being local and our student living there, that was probably the biggest thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even after say they move away or buy something on their own, at that point we may actually consider that. But right now, with our student living there, he is sort of our manager for us.
Okay, last question. Is there anything you wish you would have known before starting this venture that you look back and say, that would have helped?
I didn't know it in advance, but you were very helpful with it, as becoming a property owner who was in a rental market, having renters.
Yes.
It was beneficial to have documents and things that went along with that.
Yes.
So that we were new to that. It was a different business that we were in prior to that, and we had a property management company that took care of reservations and different things like that for us. So we weren't really in on the interaction with the individual clients at that point. So it was different for us to take on that management for ourselves.
Sure.
And so having access to the documents and things that we needed to interact with our individual clients at that point
Certainly.
was beneficial. So having that information available to us after the fact, and I know there's an apartment,
The Texas Apartment Association.
Available for that, which I didn't know ahead of time, and so that was beneficial.
Yes, it is. Thank you both for being a part of this. I really do appreciate not only your friendship, but also this wise advice that we're sharing with everybody else. All right, thanks for joining me on my 5 tips on investment. We have a few more than just 5 this time. So thanks to Michael and Becky Kramrs. We do appreciate them being here with us.